Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll give everybody a couple of minutes to sign on before we get started. All right. Well, my name is Julia Scully. I work on communications for the Georgia Bright team. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today to learn a little bit more about the Georgia Bright program. Before we get started, I just want to cross off on a couple of housekeeping items. We will be recording the session, so we'll circulate a link once it ends to everybody that registered. And please feel free to put questions in the chat throughout the session. And we can address them as we go, but there will be time at the end. And I will pass things over to our team to get started.
Thanks, Julia. Good morning, everyone, or I guess it just turned afternoon. My name is Alicia Brown, and I'm the Interim Director of Sustainability for the City of Savannah and one of the original community partners on this Bright program. So thank you so much for coming today and look forward to hearing your questions.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jackie Jackson, and I am Chatham County's Resilience Program Administrator. And as Alicia mentioned, really glad you're able to join us today. And just really excited about both City of Savannah, Chatham County, and all the jurisdictions actually moving in the direction of solar for our community as a whole. So feel free throughout the entire process. I know we'll go through this, but please ask questions because we want to make sure that this is as easy and we answer all your questions moving forward so that we can get you all set up. But thanks again for joining us today.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy Posner. I'm the CEO and founder of a nonprofit called Capital Good Fund. We are kind of think of us as the engine behind the program. So we're the ones offering the solar lease, raising the funds to be able to do it, and really excited to be working in partnership and coalition with Chatham County, the City of Savannah, and so many other wonderful groups around the state.
Good afternoon, all. Honored to be here. My name is Seth Gunning. I'm the founder, principal of SunPath Solar. We are based in Metro Atlanta, but we operate all over Georgia. We're a solar installation company that, for the Georgia Bright program, we're providing a lot of the engineering and design and product procurement services. And our teams will be part of who you communicate with when we're sort of building proposals for your home. So looking at your different solar options will help you walk through what's available and is the best fit for your home.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Lee. I'm the owner of Be Smart Home Solutions. We are a company based here in Savannah, and we are your installation partners. We are the company that you'll see after you're done speaking with SunPath. We'll be the ones on your roof installing the solar for your homes and help you go green.
All right. Well, so let's dive right into it. So as I mentioned, the Georgia Bright program is kind of the program that we created working again with stakeholders throughout the state of Georgia. And this is really designed to help families who could most benefit from solar and or battery backup access it. Historically, solar has been something more accessible to higher income families for a number of reasons. One of them, though, being that there's a 30% tax credit, but you can't benefit from it unless you have enough taxable tax liability to do so. And so we set up this program to solve for that by structuring it as a lease so that you don't have to worry about the tax credit. We're kind of able to claim that on your behalf and pass that on in the form of lower lease payments. We also handle things like maintenance over the life of the system, so you don't have to worry about that. And unlike with a loan, you don't have to pay it off if you sell the home, you can transfer it. So there are a lot of things about the lease model that are advantageous to the folks on this call. And basically, as you can see on that left box, the qualifications are pretty simple. You need to own your home. Your roof doesn't need to be able to be to support solar, and then you need to make $100,000 a year or less. And as I mentioned before, we've got a lot of phenomenal partners, including the folks on this call and other groups like Georgia Interfaith Power and Light, Southern Environmental Law Center. So we've really done a lot of work to build partnerships locally. And the pilot is going great. You'll be joining what is already a cohort of 34 lessees who have gotten solar, and many of them have added battery storage. So it's a very exciting time to join this pilot and prove what we can do to scale up access to clean energy and money bill savings for families statewide.
So a part of the Georgia solar in Georgia, we have seen that upwards to 1.4 million households use 6% of their income for their energy costs. And because of this, we consider that energy poverty. With the increase in price and power costs, it's hard for families and parents to juggle those additional costs when power costs are continuously rising every day. The barriers to solar adoption in Georgia are extreme. Solar has become popular approach, but there's almost no behind the meter or rooftop cost. Existing utility policies are very diverse, and it depends which provider you're with. A majority of you guys are with Georgia Power, and so with Georgia Power, they have their own stipulations when it comes to having solar in your home. Many of the utility policies in some municipalities can be very volatile when it comes to bringing solar to the community. And so other rooftop financing is also a problem that we see when we go into the communities as well too.
So we don't, everybody here is well aware that utility rates have increased really rapidly over the past 2 years specifically. Just in the last year, we've seen a 12% increase in electric utility bills. And it's likely that those sorts of increases are going to continue into the near future. And this is at a moment where solar energy, renewables in general, are some of the cheapest and most affordable new energy sources on the market today. And for some of the reasons that Nicole just outlined, it's been really hard for homeowners, nonprofits, and businesses to access solar because honestly, one of its downsides is that it's pretty expensive on the front end, right? It takes a large amount of capital to purchase a system and to get it installed. After that, it's fairly low cost to run a system. In some cases, not all, but in some cases, it's pretty much no cost. So solar can really help if we can figure out ways like this lease program to help people and organizations get access to solar, to overcome that initial barrier. It can really drive down your cost of electricity, cutting your utility bills usually in half. You'll have a lease payment also, but we can cut your utility bill from Georgia Power in half or sometimes more. When it's coupled with a battery energy storage system, solar and a battery can also provide uninterrupted backup power to your home. So when the utility grid goes down, your home can still be powered. You can still host neighborhood parties or stay warm, keep cool when the power goes out. And the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last year is a big reason why, or it's a big enabler for how we're able to offer this sort of program. As a nonprofit, Capital Good Fund is now able to capture the 30% tax credit, even though they don't pay taxes and they don't have a tax liability. Nonprofits are now able to get a direct payment for that 30% tax credit, and they can pass that on to homeowners in the form of lower lease payments. And if you want to purchase the system in the future, you get some of that tax credit value. So a little bit about the lease. With Georgia Bright Solar Lease, you don't pay anything upfront to have the system installed. And you also don't ever pay anything if there's an issue with your system. So if you owned the system outright, if you purchased it outright, and a panel goes bad or a piece of electronics goes bad on the system in 4 or 5 years, you would have to come out of pocket to find somebody to pay, or find somebody, pay them to get up on your roof and fix that. With the lease program, Capital Good Fund is responsible for fixing those sorts of things. And we actually have a production guarantee in the lease where we're going to show you what we expect the system to produce every month of the year. And if we don't hit those marks, you get compensated for the difference. So you're sort of guaranteed that you're going to see a minimum amount of savings on your utility bill because the system's guaranteed to produce a minimum amount of energy. So that also means that Capital Good Fund is incentivized to get out and fix your system, right? They want it to be operating as efficiently as possible. There's no interest rates associated with the lease agreement. So another popular way to get access to solar is to go take out pretty big loans. And right now, as you all know, the interest rate market is pretty bad. The cheapest sort of interest rate I see on solar loans out there is like 8.9%. With the lease, you don't have those sorts of interest rates tacked onto it. So we'll talk about this a little more. We're going to show you some examples, but in most cases, you're still going to get a Georgia Power bill. Ideally, it's half of what it usually is, maybe a little less than half of what it usually is. You're also going to pay a monthly lease payment for your solar. But our objective is that the lease payment plus your new Georgia Power bill will be lower than what you would have otherwise paid to Georgia Power had you not had solar on the roof. We're saving 10, 20% sometimes in total electricity costs with the program. Again, with no upfront cost to you.
Seth, do you mind, sorry to cut you off, but just clarify, I know one of the big questions that I've had, and we may already get to this, but can you clarify the family income level for qualification? That's for, basically, is that the amount, the $100,000 that you're filing your taxes for the entire family? Is that how you're looking at it?
Yeah, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's, gross household income.
Okay, because I have had quite a few
Correct.
questions on that, so just want to make sure.
Yeah, and there's some flexibility there. I mean, if you're slightly over, slightly under, don't worry about it. This is a privately run nonprofit program, so it isn't like
Okay.
applying for food stamps or something where it's strict cutoff. But
Okay, that's
generally
good to know. I
speaking,
didn't know
about
that.
100K.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut in.
No, not at all.
So to give you a little more information about how the lease itself is structured, these are structured to be 25-year leases, which is matched up to the warranty on most of the panels. Most of the panels that are used across the country, but specifically in this program, are warranted at 80% of their initial output for 25 years. There is an option for families that are interested in owning their system at some point. There is an option in the lease where you can buy out that system after year 7 when the tax credit has been what's called vested. You can own the system at that time, and it'll be for a fraction of the original cost that you would have paid if you had just tried to buy the system outright in the beginning. Like Seth said, there is no interest rate, but we do have a small fixed annual escalator just to account for inflation. That is set at 2.69%, which is pretty much consistent with how utility rates increase every year, if not a much lower rate of escalation. So we see that as a really good way just to keep those costs predictable. No major increases from year to year. And when you have only solar, you're typically seeing pretty good savings in that $5 to $45 range. And that really just depends on how much energy you're using now. If you're using $300 a month with your 2 air conditioners, or if your house is older and poorly insulated, your savings will likely be greater than if you're in a house built in 2016. But it also depends on what time of day that you're using energy, because as Nicole was talking about, policies vary from utility to utility. And in Georgia Power's case, it does matter that you're using the energy when it's produced. So like when the sun is shining. If you get battery storage, your savings will likely be a little bit lower, again, depending on your situation. And that's just because the battery is an expensive piece of technology. But what's really cool with the battery is, of course, you have that resilience against power outages, which is so important, especially if you have medical equipment or if you have teenagers who need that Wi-Fi constantly. But one of the other things that's really nice about battery storage is that you are, in many ways, more protected against those changing utility policies. You will always have your savings protected if you have battery storage versus if you have just solar, things could change. We hope they don't, but it is always a possibility. Other benefits of the lease that have been touched on are the fact that that tax credit can be captured, which is important for people who have lower tax burdens, which includes many of the people in the income we're serving. But it also, like Seth talked about, allows you to have that remote monitoring by Capital Good Fund to make sure the system is working properly, and that maintenance coverage, because things happen. Every now and then there's a hailstorm or a hurricane or a squirrel starts chewing through your wires, and that isn't your responsibility under this lease. And we have the robust protections in the form of the production guarantee. We've got a built-in replacement if you have a battery to make sure that you're not using a battery with 30% capacity at the end of your lease. We're making sure that we replace that battery for you so it's constantly working at a high quality level. And we've got really good warranties, not only on the equipment, but on the workmanship. And we'll have you know that as community partners on this, we were very careful about the installers we selected and made sure that we were working with people who aren't going to sell you a system that's not good for you, aren't going to do a bad job, and most importantly, will pick up the phone if they have a problem, or if you have a problem.
Yeah, so we want to give you an idea of what the process looks like from here. So if you're interested, you can go to georgiabright.org or scan the little QR code there in the bottom right of your screen. It'll send you to a very brief form where we ask a couple questions about your home. We give you a place where you can upload a utility bill if you have one available. And then you have the option to schedule a quick 10-20 minute conversation with one of our partners or one of our staff. That first conversation, we're trying to get a little more information from you about the home and about how you use power in your house. Like Alicia said, Georgia Power customers, it matters if you use the solar in your house. So it's helpful for us to get to know how you use your house. How do you use energy in your home? So that when we size and design a system for your house, it's sort of custom fit, not just to your roof and how many solar panels we can fit up there, but that it's going to produce energy that you will use and need, right? After we have that conversation, we'll put together a full proposal for you that includes a model of your house and how much sunlight falls on your home. We'll show you where we would recommend that the solar panels get installed, how much energy we expect them to produce in any given month of the year, and what that translates to in terms of savings on your Georgia Power bill, and of course, what your lease rate would be for that system. If that looks good, if you're interested in pursuing it further, we'd schedule a time to come out to your house, and we'll do things like, we want to check to make sure that your home is solar ready, that there aren't any additional upgrades or modifications that we need to make in order to integrate the solar into your house. So we're getting up in attics and looking at the roof structure. We're getting up on the roof to check the quality of the shingle. We're looking at your electrical system to ensure there's no electrical modifications needed. And in most cases there aren't, but we want to check that on the front end. After you sort of have chosen the system that you want to go with, we'll work with you to fill out a lease application online. The application is very easy. It's 5 to 10 minutes. There's a couple of pieces of documentation that you'll be asked to provide, things like ID. It's Capital Good Fund's done a lot of work to make sure that the application's simple and streamlined. And then after you're approved for a lease, I'll hand it over to Nicole to talk about the rest of the process.
So once your lease is approved, that's when my team comes into play. We then start scheduling appointments for equipment delivery as well as for your install. And through this process, we stay in communication with you by sending you milestone updates throughout the process. Once install is done, deliveries are done, electrical is completed, and permits are out, we try to make sure that you are involved at every step of the process and you know exactly what's happening with your solar install. Once we receive the permission to operate, that's when basically we come out and we do a witness test with Georgia Power once they put us on their schedule to come out to your home. And once the witness test is completed, your system will be 100% energized and you can start using solar. So this right here is an actual Georgia Bright lease example. For this family, they were getting a 6.8 kilowatt system. Their current bill was $181, but after installing solar, their bill would drop down to $92. Cost of their system was going to be $17,900. So for this family, of course, we say there's no upfront costs and there's no maintenance costs. So for them, as soon as we install the solar, there's no cost to them. A lot of the clients, when they ask us after we do the install, they're like, so do we start paying now? No, you don't start paying until your system is 100% operational. So the starting lease payment for this particular family was $59.86, and the month one savings for them was $28.83. And so their month one savings was 15.93%. And the savings for 25 years would amount into $13,655. And so year seven buyout price for this particular family would have been $11,900.
Sorry, and again, just to clarify, that $11,000 is if they wanted to buy it out at
Buy
year
it out at year seven. If they wanted to buy it out at year seven, they could pay $11,000. If
There's no
not, then
requirement to do that though at all.
there's no
No.
requirement to buy out at year seven. So if you wanted to buy out at year 15, you have that option to buy it at year 15.
And
And
again,
that
it
buyout
runs,
price
sorry, go ahead.
that buyout price declines every year.
Got it.
So as you're paying into the lease, the cost to buy it out goes down.
And again, it runs with the house. So as you sell the house, it would run to the next owner, correct?
Exactly. And so that's, with a loan, as I mentioned earlier, almost always it's the case that you have to pay off the loan upon selling the house. Here you do not. It's an option, but the most common thing is the new owner inherits the lease, but also the solar. And so they're still saving more money than they would
Got it.
otherwise be paying.
Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
And so this is one of our families, the Thomases. They were our first installs here in Savannah, and they were a magical family here on the South Side. They believed in all things green, and they wanted to be a educational component for their small community and the children around them. For them, the Thomases wanted solar so that they had their own resiliency hub because they had different medical devices that they use. And so when the power was out, they wanted to make sure that they had that backup power so that they could still run their medical devices without any problems. On the other side, you see another one of our families. I believe this is one that you did, Seth, in Atlanta.
Yeah, the Collins family is in Columbus. Yeah, also everybody's been great to work with. They actually just sent us their second Georgia Power bill and are thrilled with the savings. They don't have a battery. They primarily did it to save money on their electric bills, and we've cut their bills by more than half every month that they've had the system so far.
And we're still waiting to find out from the Thomases. Their system just went live about 2 weeks ago. And so we're trying to follow them closely so that we can mark the occasion once they get their first Georgia Power bill.
So this program, we started with homeowners, but we also know that there are people in our community with all the mature trees in Savannah and the age of our housing stock who might not be able to do solar on their own homes. but we want to make sure that we're continuing to promote this clean energy in the community and resilience in the community. So we have a program called Georgia Bright for nonprofits that is for any tax exempt organization. So it could be a house of worship, it could be a local government, a school, food pantry, shelter, any nonprofit organization. They can do pretty much the same kind of offer we have for homeowners, where you get a system at no upfront cost, with or without battery storage, all maintenance included, and save on the power bill in the first month. It's a little bit harder to put a number amount on what those savings are for nonprofits, because you have everything from a very large building like the JEA to a very small building like a church with a congregation of 50 people. But in any case, we're working with these organizations across the state already. In fact, I believe they've already done the first install in Decatur, is it, at a church?
We're about to sign our first contract with a church in Decatur, yes. And for example, we were presenting to a synagogue in Atlanta last week that will save $20,000 in their first year. It's a very large system. It's 190 kilowatts. And to give you an idea, most systems that you would install in your home are 4 to 10. But there's very significant savings for these community-based organizations under the program.
Absolutely. So we would just encourage anyone on this call, if you're a member of a house of worship or involved with a nonprofit that could benefit from this and has a nice, like, good quality roof, unshaded, or even space for a ground mounted system. That's something we haven't talked about very much on this webinar today, but if you do live further out from Savannah, like Bloomingdale, Guyton, Effingham County kind of area, and have space for a ground mount, that's an option for both you as homeowners and nonprofits.
I think that's a good point. And to build on that, Alicia, really, again, while we're mentioning, we've been talking about residential, but wanted to make sure that everyone on the call knew that there's other options. So please share it with, your churches, other, like you said, pantry organizations, just really nonprofits in general. Because they're all about saving money and using it to where it needs to go best and most. So this might be a really good option for some of those rooftops or ground mount systems.
Realize this was mine too. So we have some exciting news. This pilot has been going great, as Andy said, with 34 leases being closed and more in the pipeline. But we actually just got some amazing news this Monday on Earth Day that Capital Good Fund and the cities and other community organizations they've been partnered with have been chosen for a $156 million grant to scale this program dramatically across Georgia. So not only are we going to continue to be serving homeowners and community organizations through our lease program, we're also going to be adding some new programs and trying to branch into some harder to serve markets, including markets with renters, mobile homes, very, very low income individuals, homes that need a little bit of repair work before we can install solar on them. So really excited for that opportunity and the additional programs that it's going to be able to support, including workforce training, local economic development, and all sorts of other community engagement and capacity building. Because the big thing with a program like this is it's a great opportunity, but we do need to get the word out and to have those real clients that are pictured down at the bottom, sharing their stories, because something like this can sound too good to be true.
Excellent. Well, I'm jumping in with one question we had from Elaine. If your income is more than $100,000, how can you get solar panels?
I can take that. So the first thing I'll note is that you don't have to do the lease. You can still benefit from the lower cost of solar that we've been able to negotiate with our installer partners through the basically bulk purchasing. So first of all, if you make $100,000 less than 100K and you want a loan or you wanted to pay cash for the system, you are welcome to do that. If you make slightly over 100K, like I said, you can still qualify. If you're significantly over though, then you would still be able to work with the same installation companies, same idea of benefiting from the bulk purchasing and the like. but you would need to sell either pay cash or finance it with a loan.
Excellent. And then we had one more question from Cynthia. How much space is needed for a ground install?
So we size all of our solar energy systems, whether it's a ground mount or a rooftop system, based on what your energy needs are. So it's gonna fluctuate a little bit house to house. The average sized solar system for a home will take up about 400 square feet of space for the solar panels on the ground.
Excellent. A question from Denise. Is there a cost for the battery replacement after 10 years?
So for
So
the
we're
battery
actually-
replacement, go ahead, Andy.
Well, one of the, yes, I'm really proud about this. So first of all, we are installing batteries with a 15-year warranty. So these are the best, that's the best warranty you can get. And there is no cost to replace the battery at any point that you have the lease with us. So if you get a lease with a battery, you'll see, let's say your lease payment's $100. You'll see that $4 to $7 of that, depending on the size of the system, is called a battery reserve fee. Every month when we collect your payment, that goes into an escrow account that we're holding aside to then cover the cost of replacing the battery after the warranty period. If you buy out the system at any point before we've replaced the battery, that money actually goes back to you. You're basically paying into your own battery reserve fund, but that's not our money. That's either goes back to you or to replace the battery after the warranty period.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't realize that. And again, typical leases are 25 years, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, we see all of our contact information on this screen. Feel free to reach out with any other questions, or you can get started with your own application via the link. Please continue to ask
Can I
questions.
ask one more question?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. You know, I'm bad about interrupting.
No,
I'm just
absolutely.
trying to ask for what I think people might want to know. So when you go online and put in your initial information, at that point, I guess at what point does someone need to come to the house, or is it done more from like GIS layers, or you know what I mean, to determine placement and stuff? In other words, how much I guess upfront time would be spent by the homeowner to determine if their house would, you know, work and that kind of thing, or even if a lease would work for them. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
I think so. So if you sign up, and even if you're not sure if you meet those income requirements, I just saw a question come through. We encourage you to sign up through the program, and we can help you figure out the best avenue, the best sort of procurement option for you. Our initial phone call usually takes 20 minutes. We got some back end work to do to build out a proposal for you. And then an in-person or on-site assessment will usually take 45 minutes to an hour for us to.
Is that at that point, do you already kind of know that it might work for them, or that on-site really is the final determination?
We'll be able to get a lot of information on that first call when we're asking questions about the home. You know, for most people, we're pretty sure it's going to work really well. It's just going out to the house is just guaranteeing.
Sure.
There might be some questions that come up on our phone call that we really want to be careful to look at something particular when we go out to the house.
Okay. And on-site is looking at electrical and that kind of stuff, right? Your panels and stuff, your electrical panel. Okay.
Electrical boxes, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Again.
No, thank you for the questions. Elaine did ask if she should contact Nicole Lee at BSmart directly if they do exceed those income requirements. Is there anybody that we should specifically reach out to for that question?
They can reach out to myself or Seth about that. I'll get with them and we'll go over their income to see how far outside of the limits they are. But like Andy said earlier, we are working with clients who are a little bit above the $100,000 income level. And so she can still put in that application, and from there, Seth and his team will get with her and they will talk out the best options for her.
I think it makes sense to kind of funnel it through that same page, and then y'all can work through that process accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we can go through some of these participant kind of frequently asked questions. We get these a lot for folks that are kind of either participating or trying to participate. Steph, you touched on power bills and how it cuts it in half, has the potential to. And will the users still have a power bill even if they do participate in Georgia Bright?
Yes. Do not believe those YouTube and Facebook ads that say that you'll never have a power bill again. Even if you don't use any energy from Georgia Power over the course of a month, you're still going to get a power bill from them for their sort of base fees. Like I said, in most cases, we are cutting Georgia Power or, your existing utility bills in half. So, hopefully you're not getting nearly as large a power bill as you were. In some cases, we can cut it down by 60 to 70%, especially if you have a battery. But yes, you will still get a power bill from Georgia Power. It's just a lot lower than it is today.
And then how long, can you talk a little bit more about the process of getting approved and how long that might take from signing to getting panels on the roof?
Yeah, the lease application process, that's usually happening pretty quickly in a couple of days at most. So after you've submitted your lease application, and we are installing panels within sort of 60 days of having that lease application approved. And a lot of that is we're going to create custom engineered designs for your home. We handle all of the permitting, like Nicole said. We handle all of the interconnection paperwork with Georgia Power. So a lot of that is just sort of administrative work that has to be done. The installation on your roof will take 1, maybe 2 days if it's a large system. And then the electrical installation, 1 day if it's solar only, up to 3 days if it's got a battery. So the whole process from sort of the time that you sign up to get a consultation to the time that you have a system that is up and running, maybe 3.5 months.
And again, just
And
to
I-
emphasize that you don't pay anything until one billing cycle after your system is generating power. And for most of this time, I mean, you're not really doing anything. For all the work is happening on the back end. Once you've filled out your application, signed your contract, you're not involved in dealing with the permitting and all of that. And I've had solar installed on 3 different homes over the years, and the install is typically just they come, they're up on the roof, they might be in the garage, working there. It's not a particularly intrusive process, and it's kind of fun to go out and watch what they're doing.
Absolutely. You mentioned the permitting process, and I know that obviously differs from city to city. Nicole, Alicia, can you go in a little bit more information about what that looks like in Savannah and Chatham County?
The permitting process is fairly quick. With the city of Savannah, they have an online process, and usually as soon as we submit the application, within 2 to 3 days, we have the permits, as well as the county as well too.
Awesome, thank you. A question we get a lot is related to net metering. So if we can go in a little bit of detail about what that means and what folks can expect with that process. Maybe Seth or Nicole.
Seth, you're muted if you're.
Sorry about that. One more time, I'm sorry.
We just get the question about net metering quite a bit when we talk to folks that are interested in participating. So if you could give a little bit more detail on what that is.
So Alicia touched on this a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So net metering is something that we really honestly don't have in Georgia. Lots of other states have it. And that's when your solar energy system on your roof, if it's ever producing more energy than your home needs in any given moment, that excess or that extra solar energy goes out your meter and goes into the utility grid. Your power company compensates you something for that. And every power company in Georgia, almost every power company in Georgia, will credit you something for it. Net metering is when they give you a retail rate for that power, where they credit you a 1-to-1 rate against power that you use in the home. Right now, Georgia Power is crediting 8.4 cents a kilowatt hour for power that's exported to the grid. That is in comparison to what we pay them when we're buying electricity from them. On average, we're probably paying 13 or 14 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's not a full retail credit. We call it a net feed-in tariff, where you get a little.
Did it freeze on
That-
y'all's end as well?
Yeah, I think Seth lost his
Okay.
Yes.
Oh
connection.
no, Seth.
Yeah, but
We'll
as he was saying,
continue
you
on
get a
to it.
little bit of the money back through the net feed-in, but not as much as a normal net metering policy will go.
And again,
Awesome.
that's something at the state of Georgia level that we can't control at this stage, right? But obviously
Right.
working towards.
That's all a part of policies and legislation. So
Got it.
Got it. Thank you. One more question, and if folks have others they want to throw in the chat, feel free. Does a Georgia Bright participant need to change their home insurance policy?
They do not. Typically, you do need to notify them and add us as an added insured, but that's something that most insurance companies are accustomed to. And that's really just to make sure that, if the home is significantly damaged and it's something that would fall under your policy, that system will get covered. But usually that is not a big deal, just a phone call, and then they do that.
Can I ask
Excellent.
a question too, just about installation? This might be a Nicole question. What type of systems are we using mostly? Are they penetrating the roof to do install?
So no, what we're using during our installs, so we have a racking system where we're putting down we do penetrate the roof when we're putting down the brackets to adhere the rackings to. And with that, it has a gasket around it that protects the roofs from any leaks. And so when we're putting them in, we're trying to make sure we know that we're making sure that we're penetrating at the right mark so that there will not be any leaks in the roof at any point in time. And so we try to use as many products as we can to make sure that we're putting out a good product and you don't have to worry about anything going down or a roof later on down the line.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just wanted to, I know you've got the slide on here with information, reiterate that, and I'm not cutting us off early, I apologize, but before people might have to jump off, we're going to have this information on the City of Savannah's page where they have the Georgia Bright program highlighted. And I'll try to get it on the county's page somewhere, or at least send it out to folks as well. So you'll have the same PowerPoint and point of contacts. And of course, at any point you can reach out to the folks on this call, but feel free, within the county, reach out to myself and Alicia within City of Savannah as well as others. But just so you know, we'll have the PowerPoint to share with others for sure, or yourself.
Yeah, and one thing to add on that, I think because we've had some local government partners, there's been a little confusion about where this program is operating. Anywhere in the state of Georgia is fair game. So it's okay if you work for one of the governments in Chatham County but live elsewhere, or if you know someone in another part of the state, feel free to share this with anyone who might be interested.
Agreed. Yeah, when we originally sent this out, we were focusing on municipal staff, and I sent it to every jurisdiction in Chatham County to share, and then those Effingham, but it could be Atlanta, you name it, wherever. It's really just trying to grow the entire solar program for all of our residents throughout the state.
Excellent. Thank you. Those are good notes to make. Well, I think if we're all set with questions, we can give 10 minutes back to everybody's day. And of course, we'll be in touch with the recording. Do any of our panelists have any closing closing thoughts, questions, remarks?
Say, I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. Of course, follow up with the QR code if you're interested in solar, even if it's not meant for you. You can still put in your information and we can get a proposal out to you. That way we can make you more knowledgeable. And if it's not meant for you, you might know someone else that it's meant for as well.
And again, just thanks to everybody who joined us. Nicole will be working on Chatham County is following in the footsteps of City of Savannah, and we're getting solar on our municipal buildings. So you'll see her around even more and more. But really, just thanks for joining us today, and please share the information.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Bye, everybody.